sort of in my wheelhouse, since a big part of my manufacturing plan is focused on, a big part of my economic plan is focused on manufacturing. So we talked about that, and took some questions from Governor Branstad. He was there. He was one of the moderators. And I'm trying to remember who the other, Tom Hudson or something like that was his name. Do you remember, Jamie?
Yes, it was Hudson, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure who he was, but he was the other moderator there.
Yes. He's from, I think, PBS's version
Iowa Public
of
Television?
exactly.
Okay,
Deals a lot with economic business issues. Yeah.
gotcha.
Not familiar with it. I don't
Yeah,
watch PBS.
yeah, I don't
At least
watch.
that's part of it.
I don't watch Iowa Public Television, so I wouldn't know him. But no, it was good. They had the head of the National Manufacturers Association. I shouldn't say they had the chairman, and they rotate them. Is Mary Andringa, who is the CEO of Vermeer, and so that's why they had it here and they had it at her facility.
Very successful.
Yeah, yeah. I guess her father was the one that invented the round baler or something like that.
Round baler.
Yeah. So we saw some round balers, and
They've branched out.
yeah, I guess they make a whole bunch of different things now. Saw a lot of. They had a lot of equipment lined up there in the front for everybody to take a look at, and so it was interesting. Well, since it's so informal, let's just let's have a conversation. If you guys have any questions you want to ask, and I won't bore you with since it's such a small group, I won't bore you with a formal presentation. Just whatever you folks want to talk about, you think you'd be interested in hearing from me.
Well, Senator, let's talk about your views on improving the job outlook in manufacturing.
Yeah, well, I put together an economic plan that is obviously focused on getting the economy going, reducing the deficit, and improving. I always say, the principal goal is to create more freedom and opportunity. And I'll give you sort of the overall plan is to reduce tax rates across the board, and simplify the tax code. There's a lot of calls for flat rates and sales taxes and other ways to collect taxes. My feeling is that the more I look at what can be accomplished and what can be that the American public really wants is a tax code that's not this thick, and that the IRS is not this powerful. That we have to have a simplified tax code, and if we can get rid of all of the special interest provisions that are in there and focus on just 5 core things, we can have a tax code that's understandable, that's predictable, and still provide support for things that we value in our society. And I mentioned 5 things that are still would be exemptions from or deductions, if you will, from your income tax. One would be for children. So you'd have a standard deduction for you, but you would have also a dependent deduction for children, and it would be I want to expand that more. I think one of the things that the tax code has done over the years has made it harder and harder to raise a family. It's made it more and more expensive because that dependent deduction for children, has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller in real terms over the years. And so we propose doubling that. Second, charitable donations should be deductible. Again, the same reason here is to try to make sure that we get money into, encourage money into what I refer to as mediating institutions in our society, nonprofit organizations, churches, things like that. To really, that's one of the great keys of America, is having this rich network of civil society that helps people here at the local level be able to deal with problems that come up in their lives. And it's churches, it's nonprofit organizations, it's the YMCA's, it's the educational institutions that help. So that's another important one. Third, 3, 4, and 5 are housing, pensions, and healthcare. Those are 3 areas that we continue to provide a tax benefit for going out and purchasing those things. I'd change all 3 of them, but and I'd redesign them, but we need to leave those 3 in place. So other than those things, the tax code would be simplified to just those 5 things. the big area that and by the way, lowering taxes, eliminating complexity, put more money in people's pockets will no doubt create a lot more efficiency for people. They aren't going to have businesses who now have lots of folks who are particularly S corporations who have lots of people working on lots of tax complexity won't have to do that. We're also going to cut the corporate rate from 35% to 17.5%, and again make that a flat tax with just a small handful of deductions that would be reasonable things. So it's not a gross receipts tax. It would still be able to net out expenses as part of your doing business. So we reduce that tax. But for manufacturers, this is sort of the punch. For manufacturers, we would cut the corporate tax from 35% to 0. So if you are a manufacturer in America, you won't pay any corporate tax. Now I've been told that 70% of manufacturers are not in a corporate structure. They're in an S corp or a partnership. But I've been told by all of them that if you cut the corporate rate of manufacturers to 0, they'll all become C corporations, and they're really ambivalent as to what corporate structure they have. And if you create a tax advantage to have a C corp, they'll move to a C corp, and they'll have that tax benefit and be able to again, one of the things I've talked about is that we need to make manufacturing profitable. We have to compete, and people want to talk about a trade war with China. We don't need a trade war with China. We just need to beat China competitively. We need to make America more competitive, and we can do that by eliminating the tax burden on manufacturers. We can do it by allowing those companies that move their plants overseas, made money in those plants, to be able to bring that money back, that profit back to America, and invest it in plant and equipment. And if they did that, they would have, right now, if they do that, they'd have to pay a 35% tax. Well, under our proposal, they wouldn't have to pay any tax. So you can get that money, bring it back to America, invest it in this country, and create jobs through the investment in plant and equipment. Third thing, we would repeal all regulations in excess of $100 million. That's a standard that the General Accounting Office uses for all regulations. So it's something that's already in place, that they designate any regulation that's subject to, because if it costs that much, it's actually subject to congressional oversight. So there are regulations that are in place like that we know, and we can repeal them all. Some we can get rid of, others we'd have to replace. The ones that replace take a little longer. But again, we would send a very clear message that America's open for business. We want you to be competitive. We want to have government off your back and at your side. And one of the things that drives businesses from this country is the regulatory environment that they have to operate under. Final is energy prices. Not only can we, by drilling more in Alaska or offshore, or in North Dakota and in other places around the world, around the United States, can we improve our economy by creating more energy. As we've seen that in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is the lowest unemployment rate in any state in the Midwest, in the Mid-Atlantic. And it's because we have huge natural gas fields now that we're employing a lot of people, and our rural areas that used to be the drag on our economy are now leading the economy. And so having a resource-based economy, we have lots and lots of gas, lots and lots of coal, lots of oil in this country. We just need to be more aggressive in getting to it. It'll keep energy prices down. We do that, manufacturers can be more profitable because, of course, manufacturers are the biggest users of energy. So that's the 4-point plank. It'll create millions of jobs and turn this economy around virtually overnight.